We are here to free the pelvis, the spine, and to emphasize tummy time today as well. So when I started the process of just reading a little bit about what I wanted to focus on today, it really was finding a way to feel supported in the beginning at the backside and the front side via the elongation of the core. So I want you to start in a pattern of elevation of the tailbone and the rib cage, and the your head has could have this much elevation. So I got a bolster, a block in front of the bolster, and then the blankets at the back. So take a seat on your block, and as you guide yourself back, you're going to find first tailbone on block. And if my knees point up, it's a little easier on my lower back to begin. And as I guide my head back to the blanket stack, I decide if one or two is going to be suitable for my neck. So it feels like two is good for the moment here, right? I want to feel that it's comforting. And some of us might go a little bit further back, but try to go with what's comforting for you without that vision of it's advancing. Just find what's comfortable. Okay. And take a sandbag and place that across the ribs or down a little lower to the diaphragm, or if you stretch the legs down to the thigh lids. This will take you some time to feel competent to have the sand at the tops of the thighs. It might take you a few moments to just settle in, a few slow breaths, kind of feel the situation of the ribs, and they may be kind of in a peak lift, like it feels like there's this kind of tense rise in the ribs. I'm thinking like a pyramid right now in my mind, but I don't think anyone's ribs look like the pyramid that you might be feeling. So take a moment, maybe shrug your shoulders, maybe shimmy the shoulders a bit. And as you settle back, you have support behind you and a little bit on top of you to settle into the respiratory muscles, which is certainly a supportive way to begin a practice today. The arms convey openness and expansive settling in the breath. The legs could be extended, they could be bended, and they could be soles of the feet together, the knees apart. So try all the options and settle into one of them for a little time. Okay. Pacing your breath to slow the inhale and relax on the out breath. Bring your focus to the upper body so you can settle the neck. So if at this moment you feel that you might move the one blanket back so you're down to one, you might try that. If it just doesn't feel supportive enough, you go back to the two. It can change if you haven't had this practice for a while. You might be used to one, and now you might be back up to two. It just is, how does it feel? Support the neck, the brain, the ability to help quiet the mind that could be overstimulated, and just settle into receiving the practice today. Either the soles of the feet are together, the knees apart, or the legs are extending. And the abdomen expands towards relaxation. Right? So it has to have that exertion. And so let's bring a little focus into the core line. Feel where there's traction in the abdominal area, if that is possible for you. It's okay if the soles of the feet are on the floor, knees are up, to still process this reach of the core. It's not a lesser pose, it just might be more comfortable for your back. Now, if it's on the edge of comfort, I would take the legs a little bit further out, even just a small step out. You might notice, oh, that relates to my back, or maybe for you, it's a little bit closer in. But that front space usually doesn't complain as much as the back space in a chest opener. So working on openness of the chest. So the shoulders roll back, the chest expands. And then once we've found our full range of expression in this pose, like this is the most I can do right now. This is my limits of being in a body. Start to kind of polish the pose with the breath. Sweeping into the lungs. Now, if you have legs in more of an extended down variation, start to bring the feet in. So slide the soles of the feet in and maybe take a moment in cobblers. So butterfly pose, people call this as well, is knees out, feet together. It doesn't have to be the knees as far out and down as possible. Just kind of feel that position in the awareness of the tailbone and especially onto the inner leg muscles. If you have sand on the belly or below, you're going to move the sandbag a little bit higher across the rib intersection. So kind of solar plexus area. And then position the left knee to point up, sole of the foot on the floor, and lift the right leg and cross the right ankle to the left knee and let that right hip hinge open. And I can imagine the block is a little bit of pressure. So you might slide tiny bit back. And hey, if the block doesn't work for you on this one, if it's too much of a creating too much of a gap and stretch in the middle, you're feeling like it's a lot to ask for in your hip and your lower back, you can always take figure four pose, this pose, moving the bolster down to the back of the pelvis, which we'll eventually do today. But if you need to have a little bit less pressure with a block, you could lift up the hips and take the sand off first and then take figure four with the bolster under the pelvis instead. Okay. That's an option as well. Let me show that option in case you need to take that sand aside, foot down, take one blanket off because it's going to be a little bit more pressure on the neck, right? If you just have the bolster under the pelvis and not the block as well. So one blanket and then come back to here. It just, maybe it feels better. If it doesn't feel good with the block, it's going to feel probably better with just the bolster. Okay. So I'm not intending us to pull our knees into the chest, just to have the right knee kind of survey the situation in the right inner track of the hip. Again, sand could be on the core, across the solar plexus here. Okay. And then just switch sides, right knee points up. I would shake it out a little bit and then go to that left leg, maybe a little shaky, and then bring the left foot over, cross the ankle to the right knee. Left hip is opening from the inner vine of the hip. Inner vine. Right. And you might be curious about the difference from side A to B and go, huh, maybe you go back to side A and figure, why is this flexibility a little different? What's different on the second side? What can you make up for if the knee is dropping out and you feel like it's pulling in some ligaments or it's just a little bit too much? You can always let the knee be a little bit higher. You're trying to use gravity to help you in this pose. Just let gravity help you keep that stretch open into the left hip. Okay, arms could be spatially out. Feel a few more moments, slow, steady breath. Just giving yourself this dose of calm and serenity. Or maybe it's selective awareness to care for your body, huh? Okay, now as you come back up with that left knee, left foot down, now we're going to roll into our side sage. We're going to do side sage, sleeping, and then we're going to do a whole lot of intriguing tummy time core. So I want you to roll to the left, and if you're on the bolster, it might be a little easier actually, but you're going to slide down and pre side sage. I want you to get your ball and make sure it's a soft one, right? It's not a tennis ball, and place it at the left rib cage. So previously we had this expansive. So now we're going to go to the left side. I would say try to get that ball so it's kind of right on the border between the front, like if you were to think, anterior angle of the ribs and the side border. So place it where you had the sandbag earlier on the solar, this whole area in the plexus area. Now you're going to place the ball right on the border there and then bring the thighs together. Okay. Left arm is on the floor, no sand on. And as you turn the right rib cage down to the left, you're going to rotate downwards in towards the bolster. And then as you're pressing into the ball, you're going to turn chest towards the ceiling. Now try to glide on the ribs. Okay, so it's kind of curious how you're pulling and pushing, and almost like you're trying to create more space here in the side abdominals, the sussels, the side muscles. Okay, if you need to move the ball so it's a little bit lower, a little bit higher, it's completely customized for you, but you're going to feel this movement into the bones, right? It's pushing. Okay, all your weight is on that ball. Well, at least you're not trying to hover over the ball. Okay. And then next time you start to arrive with rotation to the ceiling, slide down like you're on a foam roller and you're kind of gliding down as if the ball is going to go in the armpit area, but let's skip the armpit. And then we'll take the ball out and we're going to lean in. If you have a round bolster, grab that, place it here. And then we're going to take the ball, if you like, under that right knee, but grab your blankets and you be the decider if you want to have them stacked horizontal or turn the other way, perpendicular. Yeah, I like to just change it up. And it's the same height, right? I haven't changed it. Here's the challenge for me though is I usually have to roll my blanket on the top up a little. I must always do. So when it's lengthwise perpendicular, sometimes I find that somehow a little bit more challenging to to fuss with it. But I'm going to give it a try anyway. So get a block, place it on the other side overhead. And that gives me a little more access with the blanket under it. Sand on the outer right hip. Okay, you could push the sandbag down. Probably across horizontal would be a little bit easier to keep the sandbag on. If it doesn't stay, it's probably that the reason why is you're not allowing enough curve to happen in the lower back and the hip. Sometimes when I observe this, people get kind of like they're in just one line and they're not letting the curves happen. So let the left hip on the bottom relax. Feel how the right hip kind of stretches back a little bit to stretch the core, right? And the sandbag just kind of hangs on, right? Right. It doesn't necessarily feel the most commitment. Sometimes it feels like it's going to drop, but let that give you some traction. And then the right arm can either rest on the right side, it can rest down to the bolster, or if you want to put a block under your right hand next to your left arm or overhead. Yeah, and this is probably where it's the most satisfying is that reach option, either over or movement, like kind of investigating. Where do you need more support under your head? If it's plenty for you right now, keep that. Don't change it. But if it's just a little much and you touch the side of your neck and it's a little bit shaky or it's just feeling very little more clenched up, then you take more height under your head to relax the jaw. Okay. Just come in for about another 2 minutes. feeling the length through the side, letting your head relax, and breathe. And the only change that you might make in pose would be relaxing your head more, changing the flow of the breath, feeling the impact of the breath on the inside out. You can always relax your head more in this one, I think. Okay, so if you're feeling that left arm resting on the ground, maybe see if it can reach just another inch, just reaching so that left shoulder blade, the lower rotator cuff, gets a little stretch. This might feel like a really easy one for the left arm, but the right arm is anything but easy, right? It's attached to all these side muscles here. Okay, and as we begin to shift out, we're going to make our way to sleeping sage pose. And you can use the props that you have set, meaning a blanket under your bolster, or you can use a block. Okay. So push the sand off your hip. And then as you turn to your left, take it slow because you just got this whole side body kind of cranked into this massive length. So the ball has probably got to go because we want to keep this lengthening from that right QL area. So when I turn, I'm going to take my bolster on top of this one blanket. And I don't know if this blanket's going to be high enough for me. Here's the interesting part. If your blankets on the bottom isn't at a if it isn't rolled up like we sometimes do and we roll it in a tube, so it's a little more height if it was in a tube. It might be good for some of us who want a deeper twist, right? This is a little more advanced. The lower height is more advanced. So I'll add my blanket on top. However, if you want a blanket under your left hip or have the blanket both, right, under the hip and for the left side of the digestive tract and the spleen right here, you can take this, but I still would like it if you have something under your head, not just the bolster. So if this is what you need to take, you need the blanket here, then what I'll recommend is have a block. I know more fuss than it's worth, but it's probably worth it. You're worth it. So the block, and the thing is, the block makes it pretty high, right? So if you got extra towels or blankets, you might still need 3, I guess, for this pose, 3 blankets. So your choice how high you're going to go with the bolster ramp. But then as you lean in, yeah, I'll take any abdominal massage I can get, right? So this is kind of a rare treat just to have the blanket pressing. You might have to squiggle around, right, to feel just that right amount of touch into the organs. I know you've lived in your body for a while, but do you know your organs? Right. The muscle that's the most fascinating, I think, to try to understand is the diaphragm. But here we are placing our weight into the props and our head turns however it's comfortable for your neck. If this is not comfortable, forehead down on the blanket. Okay. Make the blanket as high as you need so that your nose is not getting mushed or smushed. And then feeling as the shoulder blades relax. You can hug your bolster to open them more. You can bring your arms out a little bit wider or stretch them towards the back of your space. Just kind of tenderly going into these back muscles behind the heart. And just feeling the balance of the insides where there's maybe some rocking movement internally with the inhale and resting on the exhale. Okay, now feel the right thigh trying to reach back. Notice if that's not okay for your knee joint, you pass on it. Sometimes trying to push a leg, it can definitely irritate things in the joint. So you might have to back off on that option. You might feel, oh, that's interesting for my hip and my psoas, feeling that extension. And let's find something that might be commonly sensible for us to go into as well. This might not be sensible for all knees. So slide the hands down so they're under the shoulders and noticing how you actually get up. You know, I would like to grow back down and find out how did I end up figuring out how to get up and why do I feel tightness, right? So motion the right thigh on top of the left and then press. Notice what you're tightening up, lift up through the core, and then you're going to pivot onto the hands, knees, and feeling the hands right under the shoulders, the arms pressing through the hands, and feeling that motion, shrug the shoulders up and down. And then as you're motioning your back into stretching between the shoulder blades and the back of the pelvis into cat pose, inhale, arching. Okay, now as you come back into cat, let the toes hook under. And then feeling the hands press down, you're going to lift the knees and alternate stretching through the backs of the lower legs and the calves into the feet. So this is sometimes considered just pedaling out the feet. It's really interesting in the pelvis, this movement in the pelvis, trying to kind of wag your tail. So don't feel like you're in this track where you can't move your hips side to side. Give yourself that opportunity. Okay. Now, as you're pressing back, we're going to take a moment just to kind of quiet the brain activity, right? So we're going to get our head below our heart. So we'll walk our feet forward and or just move your hands to walk them back towards the feet. Now, if you happen to be near a wall, which I think is a real deluxe experience in forward folding, is you can bring your seat to touch the wall just ever so slightly, right? You don't want to depend on the wall to hold you up, but it is a nice little dependence to have so that you can really let go in the spine and dangle a little bit here. So as this quiets the mind, this is the one inversion that can really get to that reality because the head is below the heart. Okay, it's not on top. It's trying to go a little bit further down the pike. You can hold your elbows. If you're not at the wall, no problem. You can hold the backs of the legs. And I prefer crisscrossing right at the elbow, elbow crisscross. I like to hold on to them and just feel that traction. It's also good just to let them go, right? If this is more grip than it's worth to hold, just let it go and feel those connectors in the shoulders. You can roll them. I know it's against gravity to kind of roll them back and up right now, but they'll tumble back down. Yeah, so much energy that can hold us together and sometimes unnecessarily tensing us, right? So Feel what you can let go in the back line of the body and how you're squeezing in the front space with this forward fold. It's kind of cool. Squeezing into the organs here, stretching through the bladder meridian at the back line. It's the longest in the body. The longest meridian we have is the back line. Goes from the back of the bottom of our foot, our big toe, and then goes all the way to the crown. Okay, so bend the knees, walk your hands on forward, crawl, and then find the knee motion down to arch the pelvis again. So my knees come down, I'm back into arching through the pelvis, and then find neutral. And let's take our blanket. I'm going to use mine under my knees. Just going to see how I can give myself all the comfort I need. So I'm going to shift knees on blanket, and the thighs are going to rest on the bolster. So let's take a forward reach. Now, you know what's kind of interesting is this is a forward fold if you're technically thinking in your bone structure, but it's going to be a back bending pose pretty quickly. So when we lower down on the core vine, take your time. Right, do all the locust poses you can to get here. Okay, or upward dogs as well. And then as you come on down, get into a sphinx pose. So elbows down, and then just the mild reach of your chest. Okay, tops of the feet resting onto the ground. So it'd be a good one to get to really find, okay, like you really arrive at a sphinx pose. Although it doesn't need to be too much effort. When I see my cat doing this, it looks quite pleasant. So feel the elbow bones. Okay, the legs don't have a lot to do with it right now. So you might turn the feet in a little bit, feel the heels draw out. Could be an interesting leg opportunity. Okay. All right, now reach the chest forward. Doesn't go very far, does it? Part of the partial challenge here is that you're not using your glutes right now, right? Very, very well. So we kind of want to recruit the glutes pretty soon here. The buttock muscles. Okay, so now we're going to lower down. I'm going to ask you to get a blanket and fold it up so it's under your forehead. Okay. And it's going to smush the chest a little more. You're going to feel like, oh, is this worth it? Right. So, what I'm going to recommend as we start to move into our locust or our tummy time is your feet are still outwards. They're not together. Every time I bring my feet together and I do a back bend strengthening pose for my core, it actually narrows the SI joint area. So if I bring my feet together, that when I come up, it's going to feel a little bit of a wrenching pressure in the kidneys. So you don't have to have them way far out, but you've got to find what is the spacing that works for you. Okay. So slide the hands back so they're under shoulders, elbows squeeze in, and then as they go in, not that it's automatic, button has been pushed, the glutes wake up, but you feel kind of this interesting on each side. They kind of become a uni glute, glutes united, elbows by the sides. And then as you start to lift the chest up, I mean, this just feels in some way it's more strength work, but it feels more harmonizing than the Sphinx pose. And I lift, right? I'm not really utilizing my glutes in that pose. So they're all interesting. But when you lift up, okay, see if you can keep the tops of the feet pressing down. Find just the right amount of lift for you. I don't want you to over wrench your back. So if your thighs are lifting up, like you're really tightening, feel the thighs down. Try to contract in the glute muscles. Okay, now we're going to lower down, forehead down, and I want you to lift one leg at a time. So my elbows are down, my forehead is down. If I need more height under my head, I'm going to roll it up once more. I'm going to go for that because no one needs a tighter neck. Okay. All right, now elbows down. So you got forearms down or two arms. And then the right leg is going to lift up. This is such a good one. Left arm is going to reach forwards. Okay. Breathe. Don't have to go too high. You might lower it a little bit and go, that's better, right? You don't have to go too high here. And then lower down and switch sides. Left leg up, right arm lifts, counterbalance. Breathe. Okay, now lower down, slide the hands back, push into up dog. Try to get long with your torso, right? As if you're trying to get it as long as possible up to the heart. Really lengthen that out. Do you use your glutes? I would say recruit your glutes. You can try it without, you can try it with. Okay, now come back to table. Bring the knees together now. Oh, they're together. Stretch there. If you have room, you might have to move in your space, which is worth it today, actually. If you're hitting the wall, come a little forward. Right leg back, left arm forward. Bird dog. Okay, now see if you can really reach through that left arm and notice the glute energy is a little bit confused, right? So you're just reaching back so the psoas in the front of that right thigh up into the lumbar is trying to stretch. Okay, and then switch sides. So right leg down, left leg back, right arm forward. Okay, now you're really trying to get that left thigh to reach as if someone's holding your left foot, stretching that left side of the abdomen. Okay, now right hand comes down. Now curl that spine, free up the back of the pelvis, free up the spine and the pelvis. Really see if you can get really curly. Really curl, chin towards chest, and then come back to neutral. Find neutral spine, toes under, lift up the knees, alternate bending a knee at a time, stretching out through the bottom of your foot. Pedal it out, really get your feet to stretch a little bit. If this hurts the feet, what do? Right? You could be here with the tops of the feet down or the toes under. That's okay. Might not work for everybody today. Okay, now feeling as you're bending the knees, getting the calf stretching. Oh, it feels good for the calves. And then come back to neutral and then come back into neutral, push back. And then one more up dog. So let the thigh lids touch the bolster. You might lower down just a little bit, hands go forward and come up again into that up dog. It's kind of interesting to work with the springiness of the vertebral column, the shock absorber sensation of going through these sequences. It's fun. May not be incredibly fun, but it's good for the back and the core. And then we let the toes hook under to help us move back. Turn your bolster across the mat and start to get ready for that rib rollout. So I'm going to toss my blanket. I'm going to go ahead and find my ball. Everything's all over the place now. Okay, so ball to the right rib cage, thighs stacking. And then turn ribs towards the bolster and then open. Yes, and then give yourself that freedom to move across. Now, for me, I found when I do a little comparison that my left side, I have a little bit more, I can glide a little further. This side's a little bit more tense. You know, I got a liver on this side, so who knows how that all connects, right? If there's more pressure or tension. It's not quite in the spot, right? But, you know, everything affects it. Things affect things, right? Tension, gripping, holding patterns. So as you're rotating, kind of feel where the movement balance is through the rib cage. Let the body weight press into the ball. Working in that core rotation. Okay, and now as we turn, I'm going to leave my ball there and just see if I can continue to breathe with it at my ribs. I'm going to take my blankets. I'll eventually take the ball out, and I'm going to add a block on the other side. So I feel like the blankets this way is not as, I like it this way better. But again, I like to change it up all the time. So it's good to sometimes mix up your patterns a bit, just so that you're a little bit more open minded. Okay, you need a gap between the bolster and the blankets, and then you have your block on the other side. Okay, there we go. So, round bolster or flat bolster, it's the bolster of choice if you have choices. And then as you stretch the left leg back, you can let the left leg reach further. You can make sure if it's too sensitive on your knee today, what you might do is have the legs stacked, like we did just previously with the rib rollout. If it's a feel in the knee, like ouch. Okay, so remember the knee joint gets to decide what you are going to end up doing here or not doing. So if I'm on the side of that left hip, I'm going to extend the left arm either over, or I'm going to just do my own thing with the left arm. Right? Maybe the arm is reaching, maybe it's bending, and you're working on kind of that shock absorptive movement of springing in the joint. Okay, you're not going to wear them out, but if you do, we do our habits during the day that are just habitual, repetitive patterns, and that's the wearing out experience. So, this is probably something different that you're doing than your regular habits. So, this is a good counter motion to do in your life, right? Just to give a little more voice to the side muscles of your body. So the arm is either going to reach, touch down, or perhaps you're going to move that block over to the left so it's besides your right arm, and maybe that feels more peaceful for you. You could be almost on the back of your skull. It might not be all on the parietal bones, the side bones of the skull. It might be that you roll back sometimes a little bit. So kind of feel if your neck is sensitive, you might even bring your left hand to the side of your skull and just feel if the head leans down. Give it some suggested options by just touching onto it and giving it some traction. And just continuing to receive wellness in your practice. Slow and steady, breathing. It only helps. Okay, now if you're kind of gripped down into your right hip, because it's your anchor right now, right? And you just let that left hip kind of glide back, you'll notice that there is a good amount of control in the side abdominals and the anti-gravity muscles in the back. So as long as your left arm is in a comfortable spot, maybe not overhead, maybe you give it a little bit of a more relaxed position for a moment. Just feel your hip move like you're wagging your tail. And then you're going to move to your right hip a little deeper. I don't know how much further you can go on the right hip than you already have. And you're going to slide that sandbag off and then start to make your way into the twist. And we try to make these almost seamless. And that's as you get a little more advanced, is the seamless weaving of the poses. So when you start to come into the second sage pose, you might decide, well, I know I like the blankets on top, both of them. So you might clear the mat behind you and put a block under, turn it. You probably want a flat bolster for this versus a round. I know the rounds are interesting, but some of those are pretty firm round bolsters. That'd be a lot, I think, on your core. Um, yeah, I don't see twists with round bolsters very often. Okay. Not to say you can't try. So probably a flat bolster. I've got the blanket, so it's going to be to that right side of my digestive tract, giving a little bit of extra pressure. And when I side up to it, I might not want this left leg back. This might work for some of you. It might not. You might stack the legs. So this is a full turn position. So now if you notice when you twist, if your legs are stacked, the top leg is going to slide a little bit. So nothing's going to be perfectly touching as far as the leg bones go. One will be probably a little back, just a tiny bit. And as you lean into the pose, you let your head turn to the left, or you have your forehead down, unless you have this craving to have your head turn all the way to the right. Like your neck can do that. I don't know if that would be a good ambition for this one or a very smart move. But if you already have that range of motion, maybe that works for you. But find that reach of your abdominals to relax. So it's partially just giving yourself permission to rest into the props. Whether you're hugging the bolster a little bit or your elbows are out, just breathe. And just feel abdominally that sense of circulation in the core. And once you've felt that core pulse with the breath, you might even slow it down, relax into the shape. You can hug the bolster, you can keep the arms open. Okay, now as we push and we lift, and now we basically turn the bolster across, and we're going to try to go kind of right into that reverse flow into the core. So we're going to sit up on the bolster and moving the blankets. I don't think you'd want that blanket under your legs. Never tried it actually. So maybe I'll try it sometime in the training and see how it goes. But for now, we'll do our blanket fold. Now, this might be too high, right? You might want to have it a little bit lower under your head. You can always change it once you're on your blanket, though. You don't have to make the decision right now. But have the bolster so you are not too close to the wall, but you're not too far back off your mat. And you want your pelvis at the edge. Yeah, in fact, I was reading about the Viparita Karani, and you want it right at the edge, if not a little bit off of it, right on the center of the bolster. Okay, directly at the edge, the back of the pelvis, the tailbone, that is. And when you come back into your inversion, right? And you lift the legs up. That's when you kind of feel, okay, the bulk of my lower parts, right, my leg parts, it is kind of a curious evaluation. You got two legs. You got the legs connected at the pelvis. The pelvis owns the legs, but the legs are serving the pelvis right now. It's like they're in service to your core strength. So grab a ball and place it between the knees. And as you move your knees to bending, right? So I go extend, bend, and then I'm going to let the knees go side to side to kind of smooth out the back of the pelvis, like shearing the sacrum a little bit. So as I move my knees side to side, I feel that reach through the hips. The arms can go way out or they can go way back. You do not have to have your arms specifically out. You might kind of go a little bit from out to back and go, just the right direction of movement with the leg. So I sometimes like to make a little bit of a circular motion on the back of my pelvis. Let this be your completely just improv it. Like just go with, okay, I'm going to go to the left, maybe bring my knees back in, maybe move them away. Just kind of feel the circulation in the back of the pelvis for a moment. Okay. Now, what if you don't use a ball? You can go minus it and just see. I think that when you're taught something and then you go, okay, why do we use this? And the answer is like, I don't know, some to to open up the lower back or something. And I kind of go, is this opening my lower back? But it's a nice spacer for the knees. So you have this even, and you also have something that is a responsive surface you can squeeze into for the pelvic floor. So take the legs straight up. Okay, you might scoot on your bolster. If you don't like how it is, you can move around a little bit on it and decide, okay, my back feels good now. The legs are up, and you're going to squeeze the ball, and the ball's center of the knees. And instead of turning the knees and twisting them in, which doesn't sound smart anyway, does it? You know, really work with, if I squeeze it the right way, I'm going to feel my inner thigh muscles. If you ain't feeling them, if you're like, I don't know what she means by inner thigh muscles, I don't feel them screaming. You can bring the ball a little bit higher up the inner leg. I like the ball center of the knees. I just find that to be the wise choice. Okay, the wise choice is there. Now I'm squeezing to the point where, okay, I can't pop the ball. I've admitted it. I can't pop this. Okay. Now with that inner leg kind of charged, it's been charged. It didn't take much time. It took all of 10 seconds to charge it and feel like I don't know how much more charge it has to hold this. You're going to take your belt and make sure it's in a big loop, buckle up. Then, as soon as you get rid of that ball, you're going to bend the knees and scoop up the belt in your feet and then stretch the legs out. So, all that inner charge, that residue from it, which is right away, you can feel that response go back to not feeling the intensity, right? But there still is some circulation there that's draining out. So, have the legs in a wide stance. You can bend the knees and just feeling that reverse flow towards the leg pits, and most importantly into my core muscles, into my abdomen. Okay, now if it's too far out, you just make it a little bit less, right? You got to be the decider. Probably best to decide with your eyes closed and go with feeling when they're at your max, right? When you know it's pre-shaky. Okay, and then maybe a little bit less, pull it so it's a little bit smaller of a loop, and see where you can find the balance. If they're too close, sometimes there's a shakiness as well. So the feet are going to relax. I'm not trying to purposely turn them in or turn them out. I just don't want them to be stepped on right now. That's the only reason I do this class, just so I don't step on my feet for a while. But feeling where the hip hinges, right? We're not flexing the spine, we're extending our spine. So feel where the hip hinge is. You feel the hinge at the top to the thighs. You feel the back muscles extending and lengthening. Okay, take the last few moments here. Your arms could flow back. If that's too much exertion, they're out to the sides. And feel what's natural for your legs. Is it, if this is unnatural, okay. But feel what's natural when they're upside down. If they start to bend a little bit more to ease the muscle, the gravitational pull on the muscle is reverse what it always is during the day. So it's probably a new form of awareness in your living body to just feel the legs upside down from time to time. Okay, bend your knees and you can reach up to the belt and then good. Now pull, slide the feet together and lower the left leg. And then as your left leg lowers down first into the sole, then I want you to get a sandbag if you have one and place it on the top of that left thigh. If you're sand averse for this brain float option, you can go minus the sand. But as I stretch the left leg down, this is where you have to decide where on the bolster do I want to exactly be. Do I want to push my elbows into it and slide back to stretch my core? You get to decide. Okay. Now, taking that belt, make a big loop. My loop is just not big enough now. And I'm going to place that to the center, a little bit up from the center of the back of my skull. So it's higher than right behind my skull. But for some of you, it might not be. It might be right in the middle. So it doesn't have to be perfect with the how high the leg goes up. We're trying to find the awareness at the neck and into the spine. So I tend to feel some options in this one before I land. Like maybe I loosen it, maybe I move it higher. Maybe I don't want the belt around my head today and I extend the arms overhead holding it. So, just feel where that sandbag support is optimal for your thigh. It's perched on the thigh. So it's deeper stretch in the psoas here. You can palpate a little bit so you're above the quadricep and you're at the front of the lumbar, which is where the psoas is. And you want this area to actually feel like it's extending. Part of that's breathing. So feel the flow of the breath. Feel your head lean back, let the arms relax. And receiving the pose. The left foot might turn out excessively. So if that's happening, shift your left heel a little bit further out to the left side so the foot's a little bit more parallel. Just try. If you prefer the foot out, you don't want to mess with it. Better would be if I have my foot at the wall. And then it would say straight up. Now, right foot's in the belt, right around the arch or a little bit higher. And just feel that traction through the neck. Relax the jaw. Feel that bit of squeezing at the thyroid, parathyroid, right in the metabolic center. Gets a lot of squeeze here. This is a good one. You don't even have to squeeze it. It just happens by the nature of the pose. Okay, now as we get ready to switch sides, first you might bend the right knee. If this puts too much pressure on the right SI, I'm going to recommend that you loosen up the belt a little bit, even just a tiny bit, and then bend the knee and take the sand off. And then hold the back of your head, hold the belt, And then as you switch sides, go slow. You might be in a little bit of a trance to get the left foot in and hold the belt and then switch and go slow. The brain trance. Okay. Okay, right foot comes down. Take your time. Try to explore just the practice from maybe even relaxing your eyes and getting the gist of it, like we're going one leg to the next. So you can, really sense what's going on when you switch. Okay. It is interesting when we know the drill, so to speak, but that sensitivity, I mean, how much we use our eyes, but try to turn that lens inwards. Take the sandbag to the right thigh and extend. And your body has an amazing ability to recover from one side to the next or going from one pose to the next. If there's something that intense happens or a bunch of gripping, you'll change the pose a bit around that experience so that you are feeling better. So if it's something's not right, for instance, if if you don't want your head to be lifted by a belt, right? You could bring your hands inside the belt to the sides of your skull and stretch your arms overhead, head back, and reach. You could definitely be here. Okay. Even on the second side, if you decide, I'm gonna try something different. It's still you're using both arms, right? The brain might prefer it, so the neck might prefer it. Noticing what you want to do with or without the belt behind your head. And the right leg is pretty interesting, the psoas reach. So it's worth your time to palpate a little bit, especially the nervy spots at the top of the hip into the psoas. Relaxing your throat. And maybe even bending your upper leg a little bit. Okay. Now bring your hands to the back of your skull. Take your belt off, head down, slide the sand off, slide the right foot in, bend the left knee to take the belt off, and go back to that ball, center of the knees. Okay. So, ball, placing it center of the knees go side to side, and you're going to add the ball pretty soon to the sacrum. So, right now, just kind of notice, oh, the bolster does a little bit of that deep touch. You've kind of learned how to rest into the bolster. Believe it or not, that takes some time, right? It does take time to really be able to trust it, I think, trust the process that the props can support you entirely. So you feel this deep arch. So when you come back center, you're going to keep the ball center of the knees, promise me, and then move the knees to your chest. If you got a blanket under your head, I would say low height, not a big wadded up blanket pushing your chin into your chest, but a little low height. And then bring your knees in and push gently, slow. Okay, once the tailbone touches down into the hip bones touching down, then you'll take the ball and you'll push into your feet and lift the hips up and place the ball at the sacrum. Same area you had the bolster, but now it's not as, it doesn't fill as much space. It's just a squishy ball. But what's lovely is now you can move your hips side to side, wag your tail, and massage across the sacrum. Okay. And notice if you give it as much, you drop as much into it as you did your bolster. I mean, you've relied on your bolster for many a year to lie onto in these poses, but the ball, do you really trust putting all your weight on it? Are you really getting into that collagen? You really want to push and basically make that movement into the superficial fascia. So you're pushing down, rolling, churns the fluids in and out. Just like any massage, it's good medicine for that touch with the ball. And the ball does some work. It's in a small area compared to your whole body, but that's not going to get a massage all at once. It's going to be one area at a time, affecting the global system because of that lymphatic pulse that you're getting with the skin where you're massaging it. Okay. And then as you put your the left foot down, right foot to the left knee. We did this earlier, but we're going to move the ball to the right rear and then we're going to roll. So if you're not sure where in the world is this ball going to go, it's at the right buttock, right? So it's going to feel like it's between the sacrum bone and the hip bone, okay? That's the gliding zone, the glute gliding zone. So push and glide. And notice if you bring the knee a little bit downwards and then you push off your left foot to glide. I like to put both feet on the bolster as well. I'm not a fan of just the figure four. Some people are just figure four fans for rolling. I like to try it all. And so I don't miss out on this excursion of touch and movement. Pressure plus movement is massage. Okay. And now we start to go to side two. Go slow. If it's a little clunky in the hip, I'd say between the two sides, let your knee take the ball out, let the knees shift side to side, windshield wiper. Okay. And then sneak in that ball to the left glute. Okay. And then come up. Left foot could be to the right knee. Both feet could be on the bolster. Feet could be on the floor. Okay. And if it feels like, it's a little bit more tense or it's the ball didn't change, the ball's the same ball on side two, but you might be different. Okay. So this is a good time to try to get things evened out. We're trying to get some equilibrium. It's really important. So be curious. Maybe your ball is a little higher on this side. You're like, So if it's same, great. If it's different, you're human. Each side could have some differences with tension. So the work is in getting a deep pressure and movement. And the softer balls are a little bit more surface is covered. They're more about circulation, not irritation, like a foam roller or the cross ball or tune up they're a little more irritating. Tennis balls, they trigger a little more pain response in the body. So some people like them a lot, but we're just using the soft ball right now. So moving the knee around, maybe the left foot is on the knee, maybe it's not. Move the left leg around, hips side to side. Breathe. It only helps. Okay. Now, hopefully, you felt some circulations going across the glute channel. The glute channel has a little bit of pressure, movement, sensation in the tissue. Okay, so now we're going to go down to the center. We're in our final spinal, my friends. So take your blanket if you have it in a low height, bring it a little higher. Okay, this way the spinal curves are, you want to find that complementary curve at the top as well as you have it at the bottom. And then we're going to push our bolster to the right side. If you don't choose to have your bolster on the right side and it's under your feet, some people prefer it straight down under their feet with this crossover. Okay. So that's for those of us that are going to do this kind of thing, leg over and cross. Okay. So for some of us, we're not going to put the knees that tightly together. So we have the bolster on the right. We're going to swing the left leg, to the right. Both knees are bending though. And then when I take the sandbag to the outer left thigh, Okay. You know what? The round bolster might be good on this one because it's a little higher. I never thought about that for this pose. It's good to have a new vision for props. Okay, so sand gets to be wherever it feels right. You might move it a little bit. You might always have your comfort placement. You always have the same kind of spot. But the both legs are bending is important focus. Both have to bend evenly. Even if you feel like the left leg bends more, it's probably an opportunity for you to feel that right leg, just this right amount for your knee. If your knee is like, you might have to let the leg stretch down a little bit. Okay. Now the left arm is reaching. If this is too much on your shoulder, the arm could be lower. Okay. Right hand could touch to the left side of the abdomen or rest on the floor. And just direct that support internally to your core muscles. Breathing slow. Okay, now switching sides. Sand moved off of that left hip. In between, we don't want to shock the sacrum. So instead of pushing the legs into the chest, pulling them in, you want to keep the knees a little bit downwards. They can go side to side, windshield wiper, but just giving the hip and the sacrum, sacroiliac, an even chance from one side to the next. So get a bolster over to the left. Okay. If you have the bolster under your feet, you are choosing that option, then all you're going to do is shift the leg crossing. Okay. So it's kind of like if you remember eagle pose, right? The leg crossing is sort of like that if you don't use the bolster on the sides. It's very similar. Okay. So bending that left leg and relaxing the left outer hip bone and swing the right leg over to the bolster. Okay. Now feeling the perspective of touch into the bottom hip. It's kind of interesting. So you're kind of on the side of it. Some of us are closer to the back of the pelvis than others, perhaps. And then place the ball at the back of your pelvis and the sandbag to the outer right thigh. Okay, just let the arms open and feel the expansiveness across the chest. And feel abdominally how this movement is rich in selection of, squeezing, soaking, replenishing in these core organs. So it's both the back side that is reaching across, and then it's that front side, the abdominal side, that anterior is trying to create this little bit of twist. Okay. It's fairly challenging. If you've done this for a while, you might have forgotten the challenge that this is for the so many muscles in the body, especially those side abdominals, the obliques. So arm is open on that right side. And if it goes a little bit back and it's not pins and needles, that's fine. But if it is pins and needles, it's important to lower the arm down. And if it is, but you want that chest stretch, you're kind of, I want to get the most from my respiratory muscles, spend the energy on the bulky part of them because you don't have any respiratory muscles in your arm, but the arm's reach helps you feel them. But what's important is that deep inner awareness of the expansiveness in the ribs, right? Even if you didn't have these arms, right? You can kind of pretend, right? Okay, can I get the openness in the chest with my breathing, right? With the breathing in through the nose and relaxing out through the nose or the mouth. It's this a great opportunity to focus on what we should be doing is breathing through the nose anyway, but this is a time to really savor that experience. I mean, you can tell when I teach, I have to talk. So I'm clearly using my mouth and that gets dried out, right? So the breathing through the nose humidifies the air before it gets to the lung. So it's like a natural humidifying for your, so just noticing that we can overwork in our throat with breathing. Is there any way you can relax the right hip a little more? Okay, now we slide the sand off. We get to our final pose. So this is when you can bring your knees to your chest because you've done each side. But if you feel like, oh, I'm okay, I don't need to pull them in right now, you can roll to a side and let your hands help guide you to sitting. And then take your bolster right up against the wall. If you're not going into Viparita Karani today, you can put your bolster up on a couple blocks so you can create more of that bolster bench or put your legs up on a couch, a chair, a bed if you don't have all the a wall space nearby. Those other those other those other things work really good. Like a chair works really good too. So don't feel like if the wall just doesn't feel, use something else. There's all kinds of things at home you can use. So sit on the edge of the bolster. Now, you do want to get your sitting bones as close to the wall as possible. So, if this ain't easy with your bolster right up against it, you can take your bolster like a little bit away from the wall and come up because this might feel like, oh, okay, now I got this gap. I got more space to put my thigh. And then when I roll up side down, I roll in my sacrum on the bolster because you do want it right to the edge. Truly. Yes, I was reading about this. So you want the bolster to support your lower back, and you do want it right to your tailbone at that edge. So it's almost hanging off of it. Okay. Yep. Not everybody's a fan of the tailbone hanging off the bolster. So we have to let people make their own choices there. Now, if you have an eye pillow, oh, now that you're upside down, you might have to use your other blanket over your forehead and make a little bit of a tent. That works really good too. Or just use your eyelids. But take a sandbag Place it at either the diaphragm here or the feet. If your legs are lifted up and just resting over a chair or an ottoman, you can probably get your sand on your shins. It's hard to do the shin sand on this one, it doesn't work. But sand on the feet works wonderfully. So, those of us with knee stuff, right? This is a good one to kind of evaluate. I mean, we all have knee stuff, we all got knees that are full of stuff. So, notice the knees have a slight, maybe just a nano bend, and the back of the knee is a curious place. It's a lymph channel, right? It's one of the lymph points, one of the main points out of the six. So it's been designated as an important place in our body. But we don't really think about that as often. We don't feel that as often. It's usually issues in the side of the knee or the front or the inside or at the base. So take the time to flush out and open up the lymph vessels at the back of the knee. When we do lymph work, right, when I do a class and we do tapping and all that, we are trying to stimulate by tapping and create vibration. But even when we do a pose where we're draining out, we're also creating that opening of the lymph vessels at the back, which are not always in that open state because we stand on our feet. They get kind of clumped up and gripped up year after year. So, how wonderful you're just letting it open up. So, acknowledge that. Give yourself a pat on the belly for that one. Elbows reach open, shoulders, they got no choice but to rest down. But using this to open up your chest and be good with your posture, like, oh, isn't this nice? I'm not sitting or standing on my feet, so I'm not going to round my back. I'm just going to really emphasize this openness in the rib chamber and then just feeling that awareness, one breath in to fill up just the right amount, not over the top, right? Just the right amount. And then just experience reversing the flow in the body. And now softening the knees and just slowly shifting the feet away from the wall, bending the knees a little bit more. You might have to bend them quite a bit to be able to remove the sand, but you can toss it overhead as long as there's nothing breakable behind you, no furniture to hit. And then as you bend the knees, I like the idea of stepping back to the wall for a moment, just kind of feel my feet plant and then kind of scurry them over to one side. I kind of like that sometimes. I don't walk down a wall very often, so it's my experience of my feet touching it. Roll to the side and then come on up. Take a seat right against the wall. I mean, a little gap between the bolster and the wall might be friendly for your back, but noticing when you're upright from your sitting bones with the knees pointing out, the back of the skull touching to the wall. And just feeling the circulation in the body, taking a brief scan overall, maybe feeling just a dose turned upside down. You might not even feel very resolved right now because of being in these turned positions, but take the hands to join, palms to palms, or hands over heart center, with your belly soft, with your head gently tilting. Let's unite our breath, breathing in wellness to ourselves. Inhale. And on that exhale, bowing in to the peace within your heart.